Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Bible in the year 2021. We are on day 230, and we're doing Jeremiah 38, 39, 40, as well as Psalms 74 and 79. So picking it up here in Jeremiah 38, verse 2 to 3, the officials hear this, that Jeremiah is speaking to the people of Jerusalem. The Lord proclaims, whoever stays in the city will die by the sword, famine, and disease. But whoever surrenders to the Babylonians will live. Yes, their lives will be spared. The Lord proclaims, this city will certainly be handed over to the army of Babylon's king, who will capture it. Now, if you put yourself in the position of these officials who have no connection with Yahweh, are doing their own thing, they would listen to this and think that Jeremiah is he's being disloyal, he's a traitor, he's seeding a dissension among the people. So if you step out of our relationship, you can understand why they would be upset by this, because they are disconnected from Yahweh. And so they hear this, and guess what? Verse 4, then the official said to the king, this man must be put to death. By saying such things, he is discouraging the few remaining troops left in the city, as well as all the people. This man doesn't seek their welfare, but their ruin. Now, remember that most of the city has already been deported. They have been already conquered once by Babylon. And so there's only a certain amount of them that are left. And now Jeremiah is telling them, just surrender and you'll be okay. So the king turns around and says, do what you want. Whatever you guys want. So in verse 6, they seized Jeremiah, threw him into the cistern of the royal prince Melchiah within the prison quarters, and lowered him down by ropes. Now there wasn't any water in the cistern, only mud, and Jeremiah began to sink into the mud. So terrible death in the dark, in the mud, all alone. No hope, right? Except Jeremiah's hope is in the Lord. So then we can be thankful for the Cushite, Ebed-Melech, because he has a lot of respect for Jeremiah. He really sticks his neck out, and he goes to the king. In verse 9, my master, the king, these men have made a terrible mistake in treating the prophet Jeremiah the way they have. They've thrown him into the cistern where he will die of starvation. There's no bread left in the city. So the king, again, just do you want what you want? Go rescue him if you want. And so we find in verses 11 to 13. So Ebed-Melech took the men and returned to the palace, to an underground supply room where he found some old rags and scraps of clothing. Ebed-Melech lowered them down the cistern by the ropes and called to Jeremiah, put these old rags and scraps of clothing under your arms and hold on to the ropes. When Jeremiah did this, they pulled him up by the ropes and got him out of the cistern. After that, Jeremiah remained in the prison quarters. This is an old man now. And thankfully, Ebed-Melech had the kindness to even think of those rags. I mean, to be rescued is one thing, but to be rescued in somewhat comfort is another. But Jeremiah isn't done yet. Look in verse 14. King Zedekiah ordered that the prophet Jeremiah be brought to him at the third entrance of the Lord's temple, where the king said to Jeremiah, I want to ask you something, and don't hide anything from me. So this is a private audience with the king. But Jeremiah had nothing new to say to him. In verses 17 to 18, so Jeremiah said to Zedekiah, the Lord of heavenly forces, the God of Israel, proclaims, if you surrender the officers of the king of Babylon, you and your family will live, and this city will not be burned down. If you don't surrender to the officers of the king of Babylon, the city will be handed over to the Babylonians, who will burn it down, and you won't escape from them. So it's, you're going one way or another. So let's preserve the city, right? Yeah. In verses 25 to 26, we see that there is an atmosphere of fear that's just permeating the place. And the king says to Jeremiah, if the officials find out that we met and they come to say to you, tell us what you said to the king. Don't hide anything from us, otherwise we'll kill you. So what did the king say to you? You should say to them, I was begging the king not to send me back to the house of Jonathan to die there. So the king is afraid that the officials will murder him if he. See, this is where he is. They do not want him to surrender. So he has to put up a brave front, but he's consulting with Jeremiah. He's hearing Jeremiah saying, you need to surrender. It's going to end bad. But yet he's afraid that if he does surrender, his own officials are going to kill him. It is a very bad place to be. And so if we find it in verses 27 to 28 that Jeremiah did exactly that, he lied for the king. Then all the officials approached Jeremiah to question him, and he responded exactly as the king had instructed him. So they stopped interrogating him because the conversation between the king and Jeremiah hadn't been overheard. Jeremiah remained in the prison quarters until Jerusalem was captured. But at least he wasn't in the cistern, right? So then we have in chapter 39, verses 1 to 2, Jerusalem here falls again. In the 9th year and the 10th month of Judah's king Zedekiah, Babylon's king Nebuchadnezzar and his entire army came against Jerusalem and surrounded it. And it's because Zedekiah had broken off relationships and had stopped sending the tribute that he was supposed to send, and rebelled. So Nebuchadnezzar comes after him in the 9th year. But look, it's 2 years that they laid siege against him. In the 11th year of Zedekiah, on the 9th day of the 4th month, they broke through the city walls. So Jerusalem falls again. And then the king does exactly what he told him not to do. Verses 4 and 5. When Judah's king Zedekiah and his troops saw them, they tried to escape at night through the royal gardens and the gate between the two walls toward the desert plain. But the Babylonian army chased them down and caught Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho. They arrested him and brought him before Babylon's king Nebuchadnezzar at Riblah in the land of Hamath. There the king put him on trial. The reason he's arrested and put on trial is because he was actually part of the Babylonian Empire. He was left there to rule for King Nebuchadnezzar. He was supposed to be subject to him, but he rebelled, and so that's treason against Babylon. So that's why he's on trial. And then exactly what Jeremiah said would happen happened. Verses 6 to 7. The king of Babylon slaughtered Zedekiah's children at Riblah before his very own eyes, and the king of Babylon slaughtered all the officials of Judah. Then he gouged out Zedekiah's eyes, bound him in chains, and dragged him off to Babylon. That all could have been avoided if he had just surrendered. But I just want to point out here, verse 10, how the Lord works, because the poor here, they receive justice. But Nebuzaradan, the captain of the special guard, left some of the poorest people in the land of Judah. Everybody else has either been killed or deported now, but he leaves the poorest people in the land of Judah. He gave them vineyards and fields at that time. So they suddenly came into some money. And then what's really strange is the Babylonian king here. He looks after Jeremiah. He looks after the prophet. And there's some sensitivity there to Yahweh. So in verse 11 to 12, Babylon's king Nebuchadnezzar gave orders concerning Jeremiah to Nebuzaradan, the captain of the special guard. Find Jeremiah and look after him. Don't harm him, but do whatever he asks from you. And so Jeremiah has a prophecy for Ebed-Melech, because Ebed-Melech looked after him, rescued him from the cistern, and petitioned the king for him. And he has this prophecy for him in verses 17 to 18. I will rescue you. You won't be handed over to those you dread. I will defend you. You won't die in battle. You will escape with your life because you have trusted in me, declares the Lord. Always reward for those who trust in the Lord. And then in chapter 40, verse 4, Jeremiah is given a choice here. The captain of the guard here says, but I'm setting you free from the chains on your hands. If you would like, come with me to Babylon and I'll take care of you. If you would rather not come with me, that's fine too. Now the whole land lies before you. Go wherever you want. And he ends up going to the new governor, Jeremiah. He doesn't go to Babylon. He stays with the one who has been assigned as the governor of this land. So Gedaliah, Ahikам's son, and Shaphan's grandson firmly assured them all, don't be afraid of serving the Babylonians. Remain in the land, serve the king of Babylon, and all will go well for you. But me, I will stay at Mizpah, so I can speak on your behalf when the Babylonians arrive. But you, settle down in the towns you have taken, harvest the grapes, the summer fruits and figs, and then store them in your containers. But the new governor is given a warning about Ishmael. Ishmael is one of his officials. There's a few officials that he's been given, and Ishmael is one of them. And he receives this warning in verses 13 to 14. Johanan, Kareah's son, and all the army officers in the countryside approached Gedaliah at Mizpah and said to him, are you aware that King Baalis of Ammon has sent Ishmael, Nethaniah's son, to kill you? But Gedaliah, Ahikам's son, wouldn't believe them. That's why he couldn't believe it. I'm representing Babylon. Who's going to touch me, right? And then we have these couple of psalms that were written at the fall of Jerusalem. In verses 16, 17 of Psalm 74. Jerusalem has fallen, but nothing will stop Yahweh from being Yahweh. Jerusalem's just a city, but Yahweh is forever and eternal. He never changes. So the day belongs to you, the night too. You establish both the moon and the sun. You set all the boundaries of the earth in place. Summer and winter, you made them. So that just a little extract there, because this is what we need to do. No matter what's going on around us, we attach ourselves to the Lord. He's the one who gives us that anchor, that sure ground to stand on when everything else is just going crazy. We used to sing songs about that. And maybe they came out during the time of the war and whatnot, but this is all the time, as there are huge shifts going on in our society. We don't shift. We remain with the Lord and what he says. In verses 22, 23, we see the hope. God, rise up, make your case. Remember how unbelieving fools insult you all day long. Don't forget the voices of your enemies, the racket of your adversaries that never quits. And then in Psalm 79, verses 8 to 9, there's just a crying out, a looking for forgiveness. Don't remember the iniquities of our past generations. Let your compassion hurry to meet us because we've been brought so low. God of our salvation, help us for the glory of your name. Deliver us and cover our sins for the sake of your name. And then that reminding Yahweh that they belong to him. In verse 13, we are, after all, your people and the sheep of your very own pasture. We will give you thanks forever. We will proclaim your praises from one generation to the next. And you remember that through Jeremiah, the Lord had said, how could I ever forget Ephraim? He's my child. And we get that plea from the people, remember us, but he never forgot them. It's just that he has to take them through this so that they can be reestablished as his people again. Okay, so we will leave it there. You guys have a wonderful and blessed day, and thanks for participating in this, and we will touch base again tomorrow. God bless.